Los Angeles, California. March 2005. Tuesday afternoon, 2:15 p.m. Wildcard Boxing Club on Vine Street in Hollywood. The kind of gym where legends are made and egos are shattered. Fluorescent lights hang from a water-stained ceiling, casting harsh shadows across a concrete floor that's absorbed the sweat and blood of champions and wannabes. For decades, the air carries the familiar cocktail of leather, liniment, and raw ambition that defines serious boxing establishments. This isn't a pretty gym, no chrome equipment or mirrored walls, no juice bar or designer workout clothes, just the essential tools of violence. Heavy bags suspended from chains that creak with every impact, speed bags that blur under rapid-fire combinations, a regulation ring where dreams come to die or legends are born. The walls display faded photographs of fighters who trained here. Some became world champions, others disappeared into obscurity. All left pieces of themselves on this stained canvas. Freddy Roach moves through the controlled chaos like a conductor orchestrating a symphony of systematic brutality. At 45, he's already establishing himself as one of boxing's premier trainers, the man fighters seek when they need to evolve their games or resurrect dying careers. His hands shake slightly from Parkinson's disease, but his eyes remain sharp, constantly evaluating, constantly calculating how to turn physical tools into championship performances. Today, he's working with his newest project, a Filipino southpaw, who's been making noise in the featherweight division. Manny Pacquiao, 26 years old, 5'1", 130 pounds of coiled athleticism, undefeated in his last 8 fights, coming off a devastating knockout of Lelo Ledwaba that announced his arrival on the American boxing scene. Fast hands, serious power, unlimited heart. But American boxing presents different challenges than Asian opposition. The competition is deeper, the opposition more varied, the pressure more intense. Roach has been studying video of Pacquiao's fights, analyzing strengths and identifying areas for improvement. The raw talent is undeniable. Hand speed that borders on supernatural, knockout power from angles that defy physics, conditioning that allows him to maintain pace for 12 rounds. But there are technical deficiencies, defensive gaps that experienced American fighters will exploit, predictable patterns that smart opponents will counter. The plan is systematic improvement through live sparring, not the choreographed exhibitions that some gyms call training, but honest work against quality opposition, who will expose weaknesses and force adaptation. Roach has assembled a stable of sparring partners, specifically chosen to challenge different aspects of Pacquiao's game. Southpaws to mirror his own stance, orthodox fighters to prepare him for the majority of opponents he'll face, counterpunchers to test his defense, pressure fighters to challenge his conditioning. Today's partner is Marcus Williams, 6'1", 145 pounds, age 28, professional record 23-4-1 with 18 knockouts. A legitimate welterweight prospect who's been brought in specifically to give Pacquiao looks at bigger, longer opponents. Williams has sparred with world-class fighters throughout his career. Shane Mosley, Vernon Forrest, Ricardo Mayorga. He understands the difference between beating up regional opposition and competing at championship levels. Williams has been watching Pacquiao train for the past hour, hitting the heavy bag with combinations that make the 100-pound leather cylinder jump and dance like it weighs nothing. Working the speed bag with rhythm so precise it sounds like machine gun fire. Shadow boxing with intensity that suggests he's fighting invisible opponents trying to take his life rather than practicing technique. What Williams sees is impressive but not intimidating. Speed, yes. Power, clearly. But also predictable patterns. Combinations thrown in sequence. Footwork that follows recognizable paths. Defensive movements that create openings an experienced fighter can exploit. Williams has faced faster opponents. He's survived harder punchers. He's outboxed fighters with better technical foundation. More importantly, Williams possesses advantages that gym work can't replicate. 7 inches of reach, 15 pounds of natural weight, 5 years of professional experience against top-level American opposition. Height that will allow him to look down at angles Pacquiao rarely has to defend against. The kind of physical gifts that have historically given smaller fighters problems regardless of their skill levels. The comment is meant to be encouraging. Professional courtesy from a veteran welterweight to a smaller fighter, still adjusting to American boxing culture. Williams has seen foreign fighters struggle initially with the pace and physicality of American gyms. The comment is intended to put Pacquiao at ease, let him know this won't be a war, just productive work designed to help both men improve. But something in Pacquiao's expression shifts. Not anger, not offense, something quieter and more dangerous, the stillness that comes over apex predators when they identify prey. He doesn't respond verbally, just nods slightly, and begins pulling on his sparring gloves with movements that suddenly seem more purposeful than preparation. Roach notices the change immediately. In 3 months of training together, he's learned to read Pacquiao's moods and motivations. The Filipino is naturally respectful, almost deferential in his interactions with other fighters. He trains hard without drama, spars aggressively without malice, conducts himself with the quiet professionalism of someone who understands that gym behavior directly impacts ring performance. But Roach has also seen what happens when that respect isn't reciprocated. When opponents mistake politeness for weakness. When bigger fighters assume size advantages automatically translate to dominance. When experience is confused with superiority. In those moments, something changes in Pacquiao's demeanor. The respectful student disappears. The destroyer emerges. Remember, Roach tells both fighters as they enter the ring, this is work. Stay sharp but stay smart. We're building, not breaking. They touch gloves in the center of the ring. Williams offers a confident smile and a firm tap. Pacquiao's expression remains neutral, but his eyes are tracking details. Stance, guard position, weight distribution. The subtle tells that reveal how Williams moves and thinks under pressure. Information that will become crucial in the next few minutes. The bell rings for round 1. Williams starts conservatively, establishing his jab and using his reach advantage to control distance. Textbook boxing from a veteran professional who understands the importance of ring generalship and tactical patience. His jab finds Pacquiao's gloves and shoulders, not landing clean but asserting presence and establishing rhythm. For the first 30 seconds, the sparring unfolds exactly as Williams expected. He controls the center of the ring with his superior size. His jab keeps Pacquiao at bay. His footwork maintains proper spacing. His defensive positioning neutralizes the Filipino's initial advances. Everything his experience told him would happen is happening. Pacquiao seems to be feeling out the range and timing. His attempts to close distance are met with stiff jabs and lateral movement. His combinations fall short of their targets. His renowned speed looks ordinary against someone with the reach and experience to neutralize it through proper technique and ring awareness. Williams begins to relax into the session, confident that his initial assessment was correct. Pacquiao is skilled, certainly, fast and powerful within his range. But range is the key factor, and Williams possesses significant advantages in that department. This will be good work, challenging enough to be beneficial, controlled enough to be safe. That's when Pacquiao changes the game. Instead of continuing to pursue Williams in straight lines, he begins moving at angles, not the basic lateral movement taught in amateur boxing, but complex geometric patterns that create attacking positions while minimizing counter-punching opportunity. Williams finds himself turning constantly, unable to maintain his preferred fighting distance, forced to readjust his stance and guard position every few seconds. The jab that had been so effective suddenly becomes less reliable. Pacquiao is no longer where Williams expects him to be when the punch arrives. Sometimes he's too close, inside the effective range. Sometimes he's at an angle where the jab misses by inches, while leaving Williams exposed to counters he doesn't see coming. 45 seconds into the round, Williams throws his best combination. Jab, straight right, left hook. The sequence that has worked against hundreds of opponents throughout his career. The timing is perfect, the technique flawless, the power adequate to discourage aggressive response. All 3 punches hit air, not because Pacquiao backed away or covered up, but because he moved into positions where the punches couldn't reach him while simultaneously creating angles for his own attack. Williams finishes the combination off balance and exposed, wondering how someone 15 pounds lighter just made him look like an amateur.
That's when it happens.
Pacquiao's left hand moves with speed that makes Williams question his own eyes. Not the visible speed of a fast jab, but the kind of velocity that creates optical illusions. Williams sees the punch start, processes that he needs to defend against it, and begins to react, but the punch arrives and departs before his defensive movement completes. The impact is surgical. Left straight to the solar plexus, delivered with perfect timing and devastating accuracy. The power doesn't come from arm strength or shoulder rotation, but from something deeper. Full-body mechanics coordinated so precisely that every available pound of force transfers directly into Williams's diaphragm. His breath leaves in a sharp gasp, not the gradual exhalation of someone who's been hit hard, but the instant evacuation of oxygen that occurs when the body's breathing mechanism is disrupted at the neurological level. For several seconds, Williams can't breathe at all. Can't speak, can't think about anything except the desperate need for air that his lungs suddenly refuse to provide. But Pacquiao isn't finished. As Williams doubles over slightly, struggling to restore his breathing, Pacquiao's right hand finds his temple, not a wild overhand or looping hook, but a perfectly placed shot that travels 6 inches and lands with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. The impact isn't devastating enough to cause knockdown, but it's accurate enough to disrupt Williams's equilibrium and coordination. His legs wobble slightly, his hands drop involuntarily, his vision blurs momentarily as his brain processes trauma it wasn't prepared to absorb. In 15 years of boxing, including sparring sessions with world champions, Williams has never been hit with such precision, never felt power delivered so efficiently, never experienced the helpless sensation of being completely outclassed by someone smaller than himself. The entire sequence, from the missed combination to the 2-punch counter, takes approximately 4 seconds, but those 4 seconds rewrite Williams's understanding of what speed and power can accomplish when wielded by someone who truly understands the science of systematic violence. Roach calls time immediately, not because Williams is hurt, but because the message has been delivered. The sparring session has achieved its educational objective. Williams now understands exactly who he's sharing the ring with, and Pacquiao has demonstrated that respect is a two-way street in professional boxing. Williams stands in the center of the ring, still struggling to regulate his breathing, still processing what just happened. The confident smile is gone. The casual demeanor has been replaced by something approaching reverence. He's been sparring with elite fighters for years, but this was different. This was a glimpse into a level of boxing that he didn't know existed. "You okay?" Roach asks Williams, who nods slowly while removing his mouthpiece. "Yeah,
I'm good.
but his voice carries a different tone than it did 5 minutes earlier. The easy confidence has been replaced by hard-earned respect.
That was... Jesus.
I've never felt anything like that." Pacquiao approaches, offers his gloves for a respectful tap, and speaks quietly. "Good work. You push me to be better." No gloating, no celebration, no acknowledgement of what just occurred, just the professional courtesy of one fighter acknowledging another's contribution to mutual improvement. The destroyer has disappeared as quickly as it emerged, replaced once again by the respectful student who understands that gym dynamics are crucial to long-term development. Williams spends the rest of the training session watching Pacquiao work with other partners, observing the technical details he missed during his own brief encounter, the footwork that creates impossible angles, the hand speed that makes defense theoretical rather than practical, the power generation that defies every principle of physics he thought he understood. But more impressive than the physical tools is the mental approach. Pacquiao doesn't waste energy on flashy combinations or unnecessary movements. Every punch serves a purpose. Every step creates an advantage. Every defensive adjustment sets up the next offensive sequence. It's boxing distilled to its purest essence, the systematic application of violence with maximum efficiency and minimum waste. After training, Williams sits in the locker room, still processing the experience. Other fighters ask about the sparring session, but he struggles to find words that adequately describe what occurred. How do you explain being dominated by someone you expected to dominate? How do you articulate the difference between facing a skilled opponent and encountering genuine greatness? "I thought I knew what fast looked like," he finally tells a teammate. "Thought I understood power. But that guy, it's like he's playing a different sport. Everything I've learned about boxing, all my experience, all my physical advantages, none of it mattered. He made me feel like I was moving in slow motion." The teammate, who's been watching Pacquiao train for weeks, nods knowingly. He does that to everyone. Size, experience, record, doesn't matter. There's something different about him, something that can't be taught or learned. You just have to see it to understand it. Williams showers and dresses in contemplative silence. The physical effects of the sparring session, slight soreness in his ribs, minor ache in his temple, will disappear within hours, but the psychological impact will last considerably longer. He's been forced to confront the limitations of his own abilities and the existence of talent levels he hadn't imagined possible. Driving home through Los Angeles traffic, Williams replays the session in his mind, looking for moments where he could have performed better, sequences where different tactics might have yielded different results. But honest self-assessment forces him to acknowledge an uncomfortable truth. There was nothing he could have done differently. The outcome was determined by capabilities, not choices. By gifts, not game plan. That night, Williams calls his trainer in Philadelphia, describes the sparring session in detail, tries to convey the experience of being systematically dismantled by someone who made professional boxing look effortless. "Sounds like you learned something valuable," his trainer responds after hearing the full account, Not many fighters get the opportunity to spar with someone at that level. Most guys would pay for that kind of education. Williams considers this perspective. The initial embarrassment and wounded pride gradually give way to appreciation for the experience. He's been in the ring with someone truly special, felt firsthand what greatness looks like when it's focused and unleashed, gained insights into boxing that can't be learned through any other method. Over the following weeks, Williams incorporates lessons from the Pacquiao session into his own training, works on footwork patterns that create better angles, practices combinations that maximize efficiency rather than impression, studies video of elite fighters to understand how they generate power from unusual positions and unexpected timing. The improvements are gradual but noticeable. His own sparring partners comment on increased sharpness in his combinations, better defensive positioning, more purposeful movement around the ring. The 15 seconds with Pacquiao have catalyzed development that might have taken months to achieve through conventional training methods. Months later, when Pacquiao becomes a household name through his destruction of Eric Morales, Williams watches the fight with particular interest. He recognizes the techniques that dismantled him in the Wildcard gym. The same angles, the same precision, the same devastating efficiency, but now displayed on the sport's biggest stage against world-class opposition. I sparred with him before he became famous, Williams tells friends watching the fight. Got to feel that power firsthand. Trust me, it looks even more impressive on TV than it feels in person. And it feels like getting hit by lightning. The experience becomes one of Williams's most treasured boxing memories, not because he performed well, but because he was present for greatness, because he helped in some small way prepare a future legend for the challenges that would define his career. Because 15 seconds of systematic destruction taught him more about boxing than years of conventional training. And whenever young fighters ask Williams for advice about sparring with elite opponents, he always gives the same response: show respect, stay ready, and understand that you're there to learn, not to prove anything. The best fighters in the world are the best for reasons you can't understand until you face them, and once you face them, you'll never see boxing the same way again.